We must know them as they are. Here they are in Japanese prints by the great 18th and 19th century masters, Kiyomasu, Fukosai, Hiroshika. The people you see are like the rest of us, says the sociologist, trying to make ends meet and still get a little happiness out of life. No one can deny this truth about any human being anywhere on Earth. However, differences crop up in human behavior the world over, and our immediate job is to uncover and interpret the Japanese differences, as well as the overall similarities as they appear in Japanese motion pictures made in the decade prior to 1941. These, as if you didn't know, are tanks. And these are the drivers of the tanks. Japanese going through the same motions as any GI tank driver from Maine to California. There's nothing oriental looking about these smokestacks. You'll find their duplicates in Pittsburgh, nor are they just standing there as symbols like the ancient torii or gateways, which often lead nowhere. Their solid structural foundations house modern steel mills, machine shops, cotton mills, factories of all kinds sprung from a mechanical age. The workers are Japanese, the men behind the guns. Reverse the picture, and we have small home industry turning out parts for big industry. We also have the small peacetime craftsmen working in pottery, porcelain, lacquer, and metal. They're turning out highly prized items for collectors, just as their forefathers in feudal times turned out artistic pieces for the daimyos and shoguns. Let's look at the city people crowded into half a dozen great metropolitan centers, more modern than anything their size in all Asia. We'll have to limit ourselves to a fairly fast look-see. In movie lingo, we call them quick cuts. Just enough to glimpse the east meets west contrasts of what is sometimes called Paradox Isle, public thoroughfares in the Broadway manner. Take a good look at the contrast in dress. No slavish imitation here of the latest in fashions from the Hollywood salons. No fear of being out of date in the midst of modernity. It seems that these three girls just prefer the old style. For buildings as streamlined as these, you have to go to the newer sections of our own American cities. And here's a mixed group of citizens giving further evidence of the old and the new standing side by side, sometimes in the same person. Look at the kimono combined with the slouch hat. And here's another gentleman in evening attire. Wait, let's hold that frame. A kimono topped by a derby. To pursue the same line a little further, we follow a couple of young men in Western clothes right to their door, and off they come. Entering the house, they sit down as is. In some cases, the westernized gentleman may change from his office clothes to Japanese dress. And then he, too, performs the gymnastic squat. Well, how about the children? At school, and by the way, there's nothing Japanesque about that schoolhouse, the youngsters are in uniforms as Western in style as California play suits. On the way home from school, this trio still looks like three kids out of the West. Under the family roof, however, and without benefit of Aladdin's lamp, we find ourselves transported back to an old Japanese custom. The boy wearing a kimono, and a young girl fitted out with a kimono with an obi, or sash, bowed at the back. Let's all take a train to the country and add a few more to the billion passengers who annually travel by rail. Not so much of westernization in the rural areas. The farmers are so busy making a reluctant soil produce the essential foodstuffs that they haven't the time to keep up with their urban brothers. Still, the ancient agricultural methods, the old hand plow, the ox used as a draft animal, seeding and planting by hand, and hoeing and threshing and harvesting by hand. The farmhouse has a thatched roof And inside there are the familiar paper walls, mats, and charcoal brazier for cooking. The brazier also supplies warmth if they cover it with a blanket and hug it close enough to choke it. But lo and behold, electric light. One anyway. And if Farmer Akata knows what's good for him, a radio by government request. To get back to the cosmopolitan crowd, the Japanese were wrestling fans even in ancient times. The professional wrestlers are invariably mountains of flesh. The traditional rules demand certain opening gestures, which are said to have a religious significance. In any case, the boys have an opportunity to display their manly attractions. And then they go to it in what looks like the Battle of the Loincloth. Jiu-jitsu, or judo, is another time-honored contest, but brain counts more than brawn. This more aristocratic sport and fencing, known as kendo, are practiced primarily as exercises in mental and physical discipline. By contrast, Western sports had a terrific vogue in pre-war Japan. Horse racing drew great crowds to the tracks, and the betting was heavy. Golf, as well as tennis, became very popular. And baseball was on the way to becoming a national game. Movies made in Hollywood were in great demand, especially in the big cities. Music made in Tin Pan Alley was all the rage. Nightclubs featuring hot bands had an enthusiastic following. This playboy is slightly confused. Will it be an American cocktail or Japanese sake? Will it be some hot licks from Dixieland or the plucked strains of a geisha's shamisen? Conflict, drama. A night scene that could have been dreamed up on a Hollywood soundstage. Let's listen. I love you, dear. And English, I love you, yes. Can't you just hear her heart going doki doki? Romance, Western style. Dance land, taxi dancers waiting for a come-hither nod from the stag line. Incidentally, in the early 30s, American girls wore dresses like that, too. Shall we dance?
忘れた頃いらっしゃるのね。またどっか外国